Good morning. Welcome to the Road to Blake Street Banter. Tyler, say what's up.
What is up? This is weird. Doing it in the morning, I think this might be a first of all time.
Maybe an Oli. I am scrambling. I was late getting up out of bed. The kids had to get to daycare. I wasn't ready for the rundown. So we'll see how this goes. But I'm kind of excited. I was kind of excited to wake up because I knew we were going to have this conversation. So maybe that's the motivation I need for a Monday after vacation. So we had a big night last night. The Rockies did. You did. Day one draft. Don't give any spoilers out. I think I want to end with the draft recap, even though I think most people are coming here. But I think that's why I want to just tease it at the end there. So probably
Hold them captive.
Right. You guys get to listen to minor league stats and numbers and names and stuff first. But how would you grade the day one Rockies draft?
Well, yeah, we'll get more into it. And a lot of it, the funny thing with the draft, and this is going to be a long answer. A big thing with the draft is the signing bonus really ends up being what matters the most. Like, you want to get the guy you wanted at that spot, but if you take a guy, let's throw Carrigg into the mix, was a guy that the Rockies drafted. If you sign him well under the slot, it allows you to elevate a future pick or however the money shakes up. That makes that pick a lot better. So it's hard to fully know, but based on what we do know right now, I will throw a C+ on the draft. I did not love it, but yeah, I'll save a lot of the analysis for later. I think it started off pretty well, especially with Chase Dollander, and then just kind of tailed down a little bit. So C+ is what I'm going with.
All right, C+. That's kind of how I feel. I was feeling pretty good after picks 1 and 2, and then I went to bed, and then I saw pick 3. I just can't wrap my head around it. I'm sure you'll enlighten me. I really like those arms, and I know Sean Sullivan isn't getting a lot of love online about his pick, about his stuff, just not the hard thrower and all that. But we know who the Rockies are. We know what they do. But they might be looking at something else because Dude Man's got a big spin rate, all that. And again, you're going to get into that. So I'm giving it, without just weird pick, I'm going to go a B- because I'm getting sold on Dollander. Talking to you and Mario last night on the Twitter space, which you can go find on the Twitter. Kind of talked me into it. He just is athletic. They read some things this morning that the Rockies seemed to know what he was doing differently. He made some mechanical adjustments that didn't quite work, so we got to get back to what he was 2 years ago. And the Rockies are developing pitchers pretty well. I'm not mad about their development. It's just being able to stay healthy with them and making sure that doesn't get derailed, because we're going to talk about some guys that are doing pretty solid with where we're at. Okay, so I'll go B- right there. I also put this question out on the Twitter sphere. I'm going to show you. Let's see if I can do this right. Nope. Let's see. Bear with me. If you're listening, just go ahead and skip ahead 10 seconds.
Spotify has that 15 seconds ahead button if you're on there.
There you go. I was not ready for this, so I'm just going to read them. Sorry. Skyler, our boy Skyler, gave it a C+, B-. He's in the same area as I am. Trevor, he was new to us, I guess. They had to go pitching. Their farm system is not in good shape when it comes to the pitching side. Dollander's upside is worth the risk. I don't think much will be needed to be changed with him. Maybe not. Gotta go back. This looks terrible. Oh no. Tyler, things are off the rails already. I'll have to figure that out after I get done reading. Jeez Louise. Colby, he's been around for a little bit. He gave it a C. It's just me, but I'm not a fan of the low velo guys at Coors. Love the upside of Dollander if he can get back to 2022 form. If all goes well, top of rotation of Hughes, Hill, and Dollander it's all power, and I love it. And then Rockies Now, fantastic Instagram. If you haven't been following them on Instagram, gave it a solid B. No analysis. Doesn't want to waste his time. I think he put some tweets out there, and his Instagram has his feelings out there as well. Did I get it? There we go. All right.
There we go.
We're back to normal on the YouTube. So kind of similar consensus. B, a little bit lower, a little bit higher. but again, we're going to get into that at the end of this. 3-day 1 draft picks: Chase Dollander, Sean Sullivan, and Cole Carrigg. When is day 2's draft start?
It starts at for us in Mountain Time, it's 12, and so for you it'll be 2:00. So we got about 4 hours until then.
And it's rounds 3 through 10.
Yeah.
And do we have 7 picks, or do we have more than that?
I think it's just the regular picks, round 3, 4, 5, right. All that. Okay. So yeah, I don't know math, because there's always that funny extra one when you count.
We got 8 through 10.
So 8, yeah. Hopefully we see some things that kind of justify. We'll get into it all a little bit more, but hopefully some things justify what we saw on day 1. Usually, again, you have to view the draft, the whole picture, because what you do on day 1 is influencing what you do on day 2, and not just from a positional perspective, from a money perspective, and all those kinds of things. So there's a lot to look out for, and we'll get into some of those names that are going to be available and all that in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into it. So minor league Road to Blalke St Banter is here. We are doing this. I'm going to be honest. I am going based off just numbers. I did not watch any baseball, but I also understand there was a mistake or something happening with the MILB streams, so with MLB TV. They weren't being shown, which is a little weird. Hopefully that's not a thing. They're off this week. They do come back to play on Monday. Nope, I lied. Friday. So they have these next 4 days off. They played yesterday. And we're just going to go players. We're not going teams, but I do know the Albuquerque Isotopes and the Fresno Grizzlies are hot. Doing fantastic. Hartford Yard Goats, I think, had like 2 or 3 walkouts this past week. I was seeing on the Twitter. Spokane had a nice win last night behind Victor Juarez. So there are a lot of good baseball being played around the minors. A lot of good pitching performances. As much as you all dog on them, they are out there doing their thing. But Tyler, let's start with our players of the week here. I'm going to go first, and then you're going to go back to back. Snake draft it. My pitcher of the week is Jackson Cox. Again, just based on the numbers, he had 2 games started, 7 innings pitched, which give and take is kind of what it is with the development of Jackson Cox. I don't think he's gone over 4 or 5 innings at all this year. But what it was impressive, he has 0 runs given up in those 7 innings. Only gave up 5 hits, 2 walks, so 7 base runners in those 7 innings, and then the 14 strikeouts. 14 strikeouts, so 2 per inning. Huge strikeout numbers, good stuff. Love to see that from the 20-year-old down in Fresno, making those strides going forward. As we talk about pitching development, it was a little rocky for the dude man in his first professional season starting off, but seems to have figured it out. Opponents are only hitting 185 this past week against him. So huge shout out. My pitcher of the week, Jackson Cox.
Yeah, he's a dude, and we all knew coming out of high school and the draft last year that the talent level was way up there. But you see with the prep pitchers all the time, it's such a transition learning to pitch against pro talent instead of, for him, it was Washington high schoolers and other high schoolers on like the draft national circuit and all that. He's finally facing pro hitters. He had a real tough beginning, and now I think he's settled in at this point with the way he's pitching. You mentioned 14 strikeouts in 7 innings and just 2 walks. It's crazy for a 20-year-old, a guy who was drafted just last year out of high school. My pitcher of the week, Mr. Joe Rock, has been, and this is sort of a continuation on what he did last week. This week, though, he dropped a 5-inning start with 9 Ks, just 1 earned run, 3 hits, 2 walks, so that 1 whip. But the 9 Ks is what really jumps out to me, and he builds off of his last week's start. He went 5 1/3 last week with 12 strikeouts, so that's 21 strikeouts for those keeping track at home in his last 10 1/3 innings. Just 4 earned runs over that time. He set a Yard Goats record in a single game with 12 Ks. I'm pretty sure that's right. And he did that in 5 1/3 innings. Like, if he went 7, he might add 16 or something like that. So the dude is just missing a ton of bats. I'm glad he's back on track. The injury really derailed his progress to start the year, but his arm talent and just the overall skill set is really tantalizing. Like, it's that funky lefty. We'll get into Sean Sullivan, the round 2 draft pick, a little bit later. That funky lefty, and we see it with Carson Palmquist too. the funky lefties are always going to work. As long as the stuff is decent. But in the case of Joe Rock and those other two guys as well, the stuff is really good. And it comes from the funny lefty slot. Like, guys just are not going to have a fun time. They see Joe Rock on the lineup card and they're like, shit, look at that guy. So Joe Rock has been absolutely balling out. I think he has to be on the big league radar at this point. He's doing well in Double-A, and I think Triple-A for pitchers is sort of it's a touchy place to go. You do not want to have your pitchers develop in Triple-A. I think it's good for them to get that experience of pitching at altitude there. But you saw Ryan Feltner and Noah Davis have both skipped Triple-A in the past and just gone straight to the big league club. I don't know if they're going to do that with Joe Rock, but he's basically big league ready now.
We talked about that last night. That's a fun conversation. It's how much weight do we put on AAA stats as a Rockies pitcher, particularly starting pitcher? And like you said, like being able to skip that does make sense. Like having guys just go straight from Double-A to the majors and finding that success is huge. Because I don't know, it just seems like bad things happen in the PCL, and like skipping past that, like go have those growing pains in the majors, and then go down to the PCL, work on what you see up there. It kind of seems like that's what the Rockies' move is right now with going with that.
When you look at the Seattle Mariners, and they're not a model of success this year, it's been a little bit of a disappointing year, but pretty much all their prospects they've called up. You think about Bryce Miller, who is just garnered the spotlight for rookie pitchers. He went from Double-A to the big leagues. Pretty much all their top prospects, especially on the pitching side, they're skipping the Triple-A PCL BS experience, because that's kind of what it is. It's a little crazy. It makes a little sense for the Rockies. They get to put their pitchers in a gauntlet. Otherwise, I might as well just ship them on up.
Yeah.
But turning the page to the hitting side, I'm going with our guy, Niwot, Colorado, basically Boulder, Skyler Messenger, who was, if I'm not mistaken, 19th round last season, and he's finding his groove in Fresno. He's kind of like, hey, I'm not just a Colorado kid that was given a pity draft pick. Like, I'm here to play. This week, 4 homers this week, 1423 OPS, 10 hits total. So his bat has more than come around. I do not have his season stats in front of me right now, but it's been this week on its own can really like push the needle way up there. But just crazy week overall. He's now hitting 279, 861 OPS with 9 homers. It's kind of crazy that he hit 4 of his 9 in 1 week, but it's safe to say he's comfortable as a 24-year-old in Fresno. Spokane.
Yeah.
Get him a ticket to Spokane.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yes, he was a kind of an undrafted free agent. Nope, 19th round. I keep thinking he was undrafted, but he's 24. We can't have 24-year-olds in Cali League. We've talked about that plenty of times, and he's proven that he needs to go up there. Yeah, he has 9 home runs on the year, 45 RBIs, 861 OPS in that time. My hitter of the week, I do want to go Grant Lavigne, but before going there, I want to talk about Gabe Hughes. He's the one that we're watching. Put it out there. I'm going to interrupt the rundown. Tyler, do we see Gabe Hughes in Colorado Purple this year?
I want to say I hope it's not purely because of necessity that like, oh, we're out of starters and Gabe Hughes is ready enough. Like, I want him to have a few more really good starts in Double-A, and then the Rockies can be like, all right, I think this kid could actually do wonders for us right now. So I don't know if I want to say yes or no. I'll say no, because he was drafted just last year. There's been some rough patches. It hasn't been a bad year by any means, but it has not been perfect either. I think to get to the big leagues within a year, things kind of have to be perfect. So I'll say no, although there is definitely a chance.
I'm going yes, just kind of like what they did with Noah Davis last year. They brought him out for those final 2 weeks, let him kind of hang out, and then put him in the last game or two. I can see them doing that with Gabe Hughes because he's definitely part of the future. I see him part of the rotation next year. I think the way the Rockies do things and letting these kids get a taste of the majors and all that, I think Gabe Hughes is on that track to get there. He had 2 weeks ago, he had his 7-inning start, 7 strikeouts in that time. This week, he had 2 starts, on the second and the ninth. First start went 3 innings. Second start went 5 innings with 6 strikeouts. The third start, that 3 inning start, only had 2 strikeouts. Pushing around 90, 95 is his max pitch limit, but he had 64 strikes out of those 95 pitches his last outing. 95 pitches in five innings. We talked about that a little bit last night. Like, you're not mad if your starter is going 5 anymore. The way the bullpens are built, it's like getting 1 inning. You have to go 1 inning pretty much. So getting 5 is not terrible, but I would love to see more 6 inning starts. He's only gone 6 innings twice this year, so that might be something they're looking at as they go forward. But I'm on team Gabe in purple by the end of the year, just because 4 of our 5 opening day starters are on the IL. Who knows when they're coming back? Kyle Freeland's out at least 6 to 8 weeks with his dislocated shoulder, non-throwing arm. So crossing our fingers that comes back okay. But and then just the Rockies MO. So yeah, Gabe Hughes will be in purple. You can just mark me on that right now. I know you're listening, Skyler. Go ahead and tweet that out. My hitter of the week is friend of the pod, dude man of the pod, Grant Lavigne. 2 home runs, only 3 RBIs in with those, but his walk to strikeout rate, 4 walks to 6 strikeouts, still insane. OPS of 1142 with that extra double in there. The Hartford Yard Goats offense just isn't clicking right now. It's been pretty bad, pretty lackluster. It's the Eastern Zone, Eastern League too, so you're not getting a whole bunch of runs and whatnot going into that. But Grant Lavigne, he just continues to make that walk and strikeout rate almost 1-to-1 every week. His strikeout rate has definitely lessened as the year has gone on. I don't know how much, but I know it's definitely there. So just super proud of him. Like I would love to see more power, and we got 3 extra base hits and 19 at bats, so not terrible. Just good. It's just good stuff. So Grant Lavigne is my hitter of the week going forward. And I saw Drew Romo had some good at bats. He had a nice RBI double to tie the game or lead. He had an 833 OPS. That's somebody that we've been watching pretty closely, seeing how the season goes on, seeing how he progresses. So just good stuff there from Grant Lavigne.
Yeah, Drew Romo's basically got his OPS almost now. It dropped like a couple points later in the week, but almost to 700 again.
Yes.
To do that in the Eastern League, you will take that every day of the week, especially for a defensive-minded catcher. A 700 OPS will play. So that really, really good things happening with him these last couple weeks. We spent our time being a little skeptical, kind of hoping for things to turn around, and they have. So props to Drew Romo for really finding his groove.
Yeah. So just fun stat. June 1st, his OPS was 320. Let's make it more severe. June 7th, his OPS, or I'm sorry, his slugging was 299. His slugging was 299 on June 7th. His slugging now is 408. So these last 4 or 5 weeks have been insane for him. So huge props to Drew Romo for figuring it out. And that was the big thing that I was talking about. Like, he's never struggled. He's young. He's 21. He's never had to do this. And he's doing it now, and he's doing it in the toughest league. So a lot of good things happening from Drew Romo. Love it. And Yankiel Fernandez, this man, hit another home run. It was in the Futures game that nobody was able to watch. I saw he had a nice single, was in the game in the 7th and to end the game. He looked good out there. He looked like he belonged from the 1 or 2 highlights I've seen. He had a cannon of arm. Did you see that throw? I think I tweeted it.
They clocked it at 103 miles per hour. And I was kind of like, there had to be like a hot gun on that. But looking at the ball path, it was like really fast. It went from right field to third base in like 2 seconds, it felt like. You always expect throws to really slow down. That thing never slowed down until it, hit whoever was playing third base. That was a wicked throw. And I think to now know, because I think arm grades and overall just fielding grades are always a little relative. I think you should be skeptical of them for minor league players. I mean, that's a 70 grade arm. And if he's doing that with his raw power, with his ability to hit, you are looking at it, but like there's actual franchise outfield potential. It's not just like, oh yeah, this guy could be a good hitter. That's a freaky thing to be able to do. Like, not many outfielders in pro baseball can do that. So, he's big time.
Yeah, you have Brenton Doyle and Nolan Jones with the cannons too, like you're saying. Could you
If you
imagine
had
that?
an outfield of that three, no one is running. They're
No.
scared.
And they keep trying to run on our dude Doyle. Like he had another throw it at home this week. Again, saw the highlights. And just like, why are you doing it? I think he's proven himself now that he has a cannon and it's accurate. So stop running on the dude.
I mean, he's got like 4 outfield assists at this point. It's
It's
crazy.
insane. Yeah. And that might be another conversation we have. At how much do we wait? Because Doyle's struggling with the bat, and that's kind of expected. That's kind of his MO. He's going to be a 220, 230 batting average, big strikeout, but big power numbers going forward. Maybe put this on our radar to talk about, but like how much do we put on glove first center fielder as opposed to offense at Coors in Colorado when you got the corner guys that can rake? It was kind of a conversation Twitter. I was doing it with Luke, I think, looking at it, and it's interesting. Like in 2007 and 2018, the Rockies playoff runs, they had a defensive first center fielder with corner guys that just raked, and I wonder if there's something to that theory there. But we'll just put that on the radar there. Players of the month. The Rockies they give their monthly players of the month. Jordan Beck, Ryan Ritter, and Dyan Jorge. Going with that. Just good numbers. They gave ACL Dyan the ACL player of the week, player of the month there. But Jordan Beck, absolutely insane. I need to look this up. Maybe I'll look it up while you talk about Ritter. But 316 average, 5 dongs, 35 RBIs, which it just seems like astounding. 22 runs with a 986 OPS in that time. I'm pretty sure his 72 RBIs are like second or third in all of MILB. So that's something I want to look up here. But I got to call him up. Got to have him join Yankee L. We've seen what he can do. Kind of see what they do with his draft picks and going forward with these call ups. But Jordan Beck is there a better pick from last year's draft than Jordan Beck right now?
I mean, what is crazy is saying that all 3 of those top 3 picks have all played really well. Like Sterling Thompson was, I mean, IL was involved, but he was running like a 400 average into June. Gabe Hughes is, like you're saying, knocking on the door a little bit already. So I don't know who you take out of that trio, but everyone has really pulled their weight. It's a reason why I'm with this year's draft. I'm being patient to see, because they kind of knocked it out of the park with those first 3 picks last year. And then you add Ryan Ritter, who this month hit 353 with 6 homers, 3 triples, an OPS over 1100, 1124, earned him a promotion to Spokane. That was an interesting deal going on up there, because Adael Amador, he got hit on the hand by a pitch like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, somewhere in that range. It took like another week and a half for the shortstop promotions to happen. I don't know what was going on. Like They knew there was an injury, and Ryan Ritter and Dyan Jorge played at their respective levels for like another week before getting promoted. It didn't make any sense. Like they knew Amador was hurt. Whether or not surgery, whatever was in the cards, they didn't know. And those guys just still sat there for a little bit. It was weird. But eventually they did get those promotions. So Ryan Ritter, with an absolutely torrid month. And he's had a decent start up in Spokane. Sometimes you see guys get the promotion, and whether it's nerves or just being a little outclassed at the beginning and needing to adjust, they absolutely struggle. He already has a home run, and I guess actually he's been beat around a little bit. His WRC plus is 11, but it's 26 plate appearances. Things will turn around.
Yeah.
He earned this call up though, and we know the skill set is really, really spectacular with the plus glove at shortstop. He had 18 homers already. Well, 19 homers total, 18 down in Fresno. For a shortstop to do that at half a season, like that's 30 home run power. He's that kind of guy. So you have a really good skill set with Ritter, and then you turn the page. You have your other young shortstop, Dyan Jorge, out of Cuba. He's a Cuban signee, and he's raked this year and finally got his shot in full season ball. He's a little older as they go. The Rockies kind of skipped his initial international signing period, so he's 20. Even though he's only been signed for 2 years. Usually you see those guys sign at like 16 or 17. But He's been balling. He has been absolutely balling. He's hitting 345 in Fresno already to start, his go around in full season ball.
Yeah, it's fun to see, and I'm glad Dyan got the call up, and it sucks that injury to our number one prospect is what caused all these call ups to happen. And I mean, it is double-edged sword there. However, it's cool seeing that they can fill in, like we saw with Hunter Stovall when he filled in for Ezekiel Tovar last year. You have these guys that are able to step up and actually get these playing time at the next level, and so their development isn't slowing because of somebody else's injury. So exciting for Ritter. I'm really excited what he does with Spokane going forward. If we can find a 4th round draft pick, do work like that all the way through to the majors, I think the Rockies did well. That 2022 draft is looking really good right now. All right, let's want to go back. So Jordan Beck is 4th in all of minor league in RBIs. But I was looking at this, Tyler. We have
AAA ahead of him.
Yeah, right. There's a few. So out of the top 20, Colorado has 5 guys. Okay. Could you name them? And all of my minor leagues, top 5 in RBI.
It's tough to. I want to say one of the AAA. Well, there's got to be a AAA guy up there. I'm gonna throw out Coco, even though he's not like the middle of the order run producer. He's not.
No, Coco. I think he spent too much time up north.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you would think that Yanquiel Fernandez would be in there.
Yanquiel is 2nd in RBIs, 77. Leader has 79.
Lavigne. I could see Lavigne being in there. Otherwise, gotta go with Mike Tully is still just a big time producer, consistent. He's played pretty much every game in AAA. He only was with the big leagues for like 3 or 4 days. Yep. So I'm thinking he's up there.
Tolia is 15th with 63. There's one Rocky ahead of him and one Rocky below him. We talked about one of them.
Well, the one ahead, I'm guessing because he had a really torrid start, is Hunter Goodman.
Yep. He 11th with 64.
And then, I mean, are we talking Ryan Ritter? Since he's the man of the hour right now.
Yep, 61 RBIs for Ryan Ritter. So again, 5 of the top 20 in all of MLB are RBI leaders.
That is pretty crazy, especially for a shortstop. Again, that's not something you see all that often. He was the life force of that Fresno offense, but they've lost 1 game in July. We got to give them some love. 1 game in the month of July.
I know.
And they don't even have Ryan Ritter anymore. They haven't had him for like a week.
No, whatever they're doing is great. I'm going to be honest. I'm sorry, Steven and Johnny. I have not been watching them. They're just on too late. I can't stay up that late, but I might. We also need to get one of their guys. Steven, if you're listening, which I doubt you are, you don't have time. You're a busy man. We need to talk. We need to get some guys from Fresno on the pod here. And then we're looking at it. 2nd in home run race in all minor leagues. Yanquiel is tied for 2nd with 22. Joe Adell, for whatever reason, he's still in the minors, has 23 he's tied with 2 other guys with 23. Jordan Beck has 20, and then Ryan Ritter has 19. So it'll be interesting. Yanquiel versus Jordan versus Ritter going forward, who has more home runs. And Hunter Goodman's up there with 18, but we're not going to talk about his last month. Your mom's favorite player is in timeout, it seems like, right now. But that might be something we add to next week's pod. Or maybe that's a Thursday conversation. We'll see. So, players of the month, Jordan Beck, Ryan Ritter, Dyan Jorge. Our players of the week, Jackson Cox, Joe Rock, Skyler Messenger, Grant Lavigne. And let's get into call-ups before we get into, we're about that 30-minute mark, so we can split it. Call-ups. Our dude, Dugan Darnell, got the AAA call-up. Who was more excited than us? Nobody. Finally getting that nod. I don't think he's pitched in. I'll look real quick. I don't think he's got a nod yet. I know Evan Justice, who also joined him, who made light work of AA, got the call-up. But Dugan Darnell, do we see him in Rocky Purple this year, Tyler?
I don't think that they're gonna push it, but if he pitches well there and there's still a need, I think so. But you also have to look at, you have Tyler Kinley, who he's rehabbing right now in the complex league. Like, he'll be back at some point this month, if not early August. So that's another spot that gets taken up. They have a lot of relievers, so I don't think that there is a clear push. They have to clear a spot. So I think he's more likely to get added to the 40-man after the season.
Yeah.
But if he's cooking in Albuquerque, Walter White style, he has a good chance to get that push to the big leagues, and that's so exciting for a guy with his journey.
Yeah, his story is insane. I guess he's pitched twice. He has 2.1 innings. He finished both games. He has 1 win, 0 losses, so no saves. So I don't know what that means, but 4 hits allowed, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 0 strikeouts. He's a big strikeout guy, so we'll see how that plays out as he goes forward. But he's got his taste. He started in 2021 in low A. He is now in 2023, 2 seasons later, up in AAA. Dugan Darnell, fantastic story. Our guy. I just want everybody, not like selfishly, I want everybody when they see Dugan Darnell in purple, they connect him with BSB. I feel like that's something that's there.
I mean,
he's earned it. He's done it, but
he was, yeah. We talked to some guys, and we get that connection. But I think a lot of people did find out about him through this, which is, that's kind of a unique thing for us, and for him as well. I think he has a lot more supporters in the fan base because of what's gone on, and he's totally earned every bit of it. It's no longer just like oh, this is fun. This guy's pretty good. Like he's right there at the doorstep, and it's awesome.
Yes. Bryce McGowan got the call up to Hartford, right?
Yeah, initially they put him in AAA, and he actually pitched there. But so I don't know what was going on exactly.
Yeah,
there,
it's weird,
he,
right?
He was pushed back to AA. So it was as if he was a placeholder for Evan Justice. And I want to say he went up before Dugan Darnell did, but I'm not positive. So just like a lot of shuffling. You also had Michael Peterson go to AAA. So 3 new relievers in AAA. All of those guys, are on that radar. So, someone I think there's going to be a new face in purple. I think at the end of the season, it could be Evan Justice. He's the higher draft pick. I think he was a 4th rounder in 2021. So he is someone that the club is like, hey,
round.
This is a high drafty, and he's balled out a good bit. Did we miss him? We mentioned Dyan, and then Colten Schmidt also, I guess, up to AA. So
yeah, and that's the story that I have to dive into more. He's coming back from Tommy John, right? Last year,
I believe
did
so,
work in Spokane in like 2 or 3 starts. So he's come here. He's got a fantastic beard. Looks like he has been off the grid for like 5 years. He's a cool story. I know it's there. Just coming back. It'd be fun to dive into that. Yeah, and you talked about it already, I know, but Evan Justice had a taste of his in Spokane. 1 inning of 0 runs, 0 hits, 2 strikeouts. One thing that he struggled with when he first got to Hartford was the walks. He only had 9 walks in 16 innings, but most of those were like in the first 2 or 3 games. So again, Evan Justice being able to control the strike zone is going to be huge. Don't often see a 3-tier season: Spokane, Hartford, Albuquerque for Evan Justice. Bryce McGowan, he's also on that track, right? He's technically pitched. Bryce McGowan has pitched in every level this year, Tyler.
Yeah, actually, no, that's true. He started in Fresno.
He even started in rookie ball. He has gone 5.
Oh yeah,
rookie ball, Fresno, Spokane, Hartford, AAA.
My gosh, that's actually insane. Like when you look at the the stat pages, it's a nice stair step. Something you don't see. That's maybe like 1 or 2 guys every year can say that they pitched it. I don't know, all 5, not even just all 4 of the regular minor league levels. He also, had a rehab appearance in the complex league. So he is the journeyman, except hopefully he's better than your typical journeyman.
Right. Yeah. He's a big arm. You've been high on Bryce for a while. It's going to be fun to watch him go forward. I'm very curious what Rockies seem to love Michael Peterson. Pitched in the for Great Britain in the World Baseball Classic. I was going to say CWS, but I've watched him and I have not been impressed. I know he has big numbers, big fastball, some decent off-speed stuff to match with it, but maybe it's just the few games I've watched he was bad. because he only has 8 walks on the season in whatever, there it is, 21 innings, which I thought it was a lot higher. I must have just watched some bad games. 30 strikeouts in 21 innings. All right, so I'm going to jump off my take here.
Well, I guess, yeah. No, honestly, he's one of those that I've always known he has some pretty big stuff, but, the numbers are way better than I was expecting. And when he got that AAA call-up, I was kind of like, okay, all right. But I think he deserves to be there. He's also 29, so the clock is sort of ticking on him.
Yep.
Don't have, forever to keep letting him cook down in AAA and develop. So makes sense to see him get the push. And yeah, it's explosive stuff.
Yeah, high. Like he's hit in triple digits at least once or twice, if not the whole game that he's in. So another armbar and arm to look forward to. So call-ups, I think and we forgot one of my favorite. He's older for his group, Felix Ramires. He finally got the call up to Spokane. He's been one we've been clamoring since the beginning. He shouldn't have been ever in Fresno, but 36 innings pitched, 41 strikeouts, 10 walks, only allowed 2 earned runs in his 36 innings in Fresno.
That's crazy.
So I haven't been able to watch him. His stuff is pretty nasty. He's got a pretty big off speed, a lot of movement on it. And so we'll see how that works out in Spokane there. So call-up season, it has begun. Cross our fingers, knock on wood. A lot more happened with this all-star break coming in after the draft, seeing where we're at. All right, last little thing. I know I just haven't talked about the minors in so long, Tyler. Connor Kaiser was DFA'd, so was Jorge Alfaro, but they are both back in the system. They are with Albuquerque, down in Albuquerque. Now they cleared waivers all the way through. Zach Agnos is already top 10 in Fresno saves of all time. I should have had the number ready. Maybe I can find it real quick. Nope, not ready. Maybe Mike can get on that. And then Wynton Bernard is back. We got to see what that man's up to. I should reach out to him. Wynton Bernard is back, and he's been everything he was last year. It's kind of sucks. I wanted him to do work and be a 4th outfielder for Toronto. Just wasn't in the cards. Again, don't know the numbers, but he was like, go. Rockies are going to Rocky and bring back their guys. And if they're going to bring back a guy that nobody's going to be upset about, it's Wynton Bernard. So huge just excitement around Wynton Bernard joining the Isotopes once again. I think that's a lot of the big news here. Amador had surgery on the hand. Same thing as Mike Trout. So he's going to be out 6 to 10 weeks, I think.
I think they're hopeful he's back. Really towards the end of August, so you're looking at less than 2 months. They want him to play again this season, so we'll see if he's afforded that opportunity or not. The minors end a lot quicker than the major league season. I think it's early September that they finish, so not a ton of time, but hopefully we get to see him back.
And then something that we're watching is Benny Montgomery left the game again last night. He was running out to center field and something happened and he was taken off the field. He's been hurt off and on over the last 3 weeks, but hit by pitches a few times, takes a day or two off, then comes back on. So just something we're watching. How much would that suck when you have Zach Veed, Adele Amador, and Benny Montgomery all going down in the same season? That it just added to the list of 2023 injuries for the Colorado Rockies. But something we're watching. They're off again until Friday, so he has 4 days to recover, see how that goes, and hopefully he's being penciled back into the starting lineup there. I think that's it. And I think that's it. Cole Tucker's been hitting really well down in the minors. Tolio's on his power surge right now. So there's some things happening. If we start seeing shuffles, Coco Montes is back down. Trehill's back up. Gavin Hollowell's a Rocky. I think that's it. I think I'm done talking. I'm going to give you your shine now. Draft day. We talked about it last night. Day 1 draft recap is done. You already gave it a B minus. I don't know. How much fun did you have? Let's start with that.
It was, it was fun. There were some things that capped it. I was really hoping for more of a exciting bat to be drafted at some point in the 3 picks. And that just did not happen. We'll start with the first pick. And I want to preface this. We did a fair amount of talking about this on the Twitter space. Most of Rocky's Twitter was just really clamoring for pitching throughout the night. And I think adding some pitching is a healthy thing to do, but I think it's an overreaction to just what we've seen from the big league club this year that has been the result of, like you said, like basically the entire starting rotation being injured. And all of a sudden we feel like pitching is this real panic need. And I'm not saying we don't need pitching, we do, but the offense it's been the worst offense in baseball by a very large margin. I want to make that loud and clear. Last in WRC plus, dead last in F WAR by position players. They're at -1. No other team is below 2.9. So it's a terrible offense. They need hitting. And all of their offensive prospects have kind of scuffled, with the exception of, Amador has played really well, now injured, and Yanquiel Fernandez. Every other hitting prospect, aside from the recent, low A, Sterling Thompson, Jordan Beck, those guys have scuffled a lot. So you don't necessarily have surefire big leaguers, surefire impact big leaguers coming through. Like you just need talent. It's not about, we need pitching. You need the best talent you can get. I think with Chase Dollander, it's it's not, following my train of thought that, they settled for Dollander. I think there were better hitters on the board to take, but he is also a really high end talent. So we'll actually focus on him now. A guy who, coming into the season, people thought was going to go top 3. It was an incredible 2022 season. His whip was like 0.7 or something like that. He walked, I think it was 13 guys in 80 innings. Like he was a specialist of command. He's an upper 90s fastball guy. It averages 95.7. The one thing that, again, to draft a pitcher in the top 10, I feel like you have to be very certain, this is a guy who's going to run. His slider this year, opponents hit a 914 OPS against it, and that is his second pitch. The fastball is great. It ran a 30% whiff rate this year. That is excellent for fastballs, and then the high velo, of course. But the slider just hasn't really worked. And even in 22, he got better results on it because he commanded it better, but it's not like a strikeout pitch. And I think, again, you're drafting a guy in the top 10. I think you want pure dominance. And this year was a bit far from dominance. So I don't love the pick. I think a lot of people were really stoked on that. And I didn't quite get it. There were some elite hitters available. And I don't know if you can consider Chase Dollander an elite pitching prospect, because the command is an issue. He doesn't have a second plus pitch in his arsenal. It's a plus fastball. And then, if you're calling the slider plus, it's because you're hoping and projecting that tweaks are made, but that's just not, the best way to approach a top 10 pick. So we'll start there, at least for now.
So
that's a very pessimistic view.
Who would you have? So hitting wise, who would you rather them add at that time?
So, and this isn't even maybe my number one. Chase Davis, though, was a guy I absolutely loved. I think he was the third best college hitter in this class. High contact rates, really good plate discipline, and it's huge power. I think the league played themselves by allowing him to fall to pick 21. I hate the Cardinals. They get every good player. We talked about that last night. But other guys on the board that I really like, Tommy Troy out of Stanford, huge power, doesn't swing and miss much at all. They showed a graphic on the draft that pitches that were 96 and up, he never swung and missed at one. It's elite bat to ball skills, and it's plus power. Like, I don't know how you let a guy like that sit on the board. And then boom, the Arizona Diamondbacks scoop him up. So that is going to sting. I promise you all, Tommy Troy is going to kill the Rockies in the future, and we're going to be pissed that we let him sit on the board. You also had Matt Shaw out of Maryland. He's a 5-tool shortstop. Maybe not a plus defensive shortstop, but it's great power, great hitter. Kyle Teal, catcher out of Virginia, plus power, plus hitter, huge arm, even if he doesn't stick at catcher. I think those were the main 3 guys. I was really hoping for one of those bats, and then, Chase Davis as well. I understand. I guess the league wasn't as high on Chase Davis as I, but I'm kind of expecting him to have a Jordan Walker meteor rise.
Yeah.
I'm a snob at this point. I really wanted a hitter. I think that the Rockies have just neglected the offense for years and years, because the non-park adjusted numbers look fine. The park adjusted numbers have been the worst in the league pretty much the last 10 years. I want this to be my rant now.
It's been pretty bleak for a long time up in Coors.
Even with Nolan and Trevor, it was bad. Like, those guys were the only thing keeping them from being the worst for those years, but it was really bad, even in those mid 2010s with a couple superstars. So they need hitting. They didn't, get an impact bat.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's because their view is a little clouded with Yankiel and Jordan Beck, and you got some of these guys like Hunter Goodman was off to a good start. Grant Lavigne, I'm still big on Lavigne. Amador, you have some of these position players already. Maybe they're clouded, like, okay, we have this in 2-3 years, we have that crop coming back up, but they need an impact bat. And I don't know if the Rockies have that right now. Yankiel's looking like that impact bat right now. However, strikeouts are a thing he needs to work on, and being able to contact and power, being able to be like a Charlie Blackmon type hitter in Colorado, Yankeel's still not there. He still has some growing to do. So I think I was all in on pitching. So the fact that they went pitching back to back, I was all for, just because kind of countering what you would just ranting on about, which I agree with everything you said. I think you could say the same thing about you need at least eight to nine starting pitching arms every single season that's ready to go. And the Rockies have only been 3 or 4 deep, like feeling good about 3 to 4 deep for so long. And so adding more talent to add to that, like I think it was I don't know, you mentioned it earlier, or one of the Twitter's tweets at us. If you can get a Jaden Hill, a Gabriel Hughes, and a Chase Dollander as your 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, along with Noah Davis, a Carl Kaufman, see if Jeff Criswell can develop here, Joe Rock, you're starting to look at a rotation that has 8 to 9 arms that you're not so worried about. Which I think, in my point of view, that's in the long term is better for the Rockies, because injuries are going to happen. I mean, 4 out of 5 opening day starters are gone. You need to have that depth, and the Rockies haven't had any depth at that starting pitching since what, 2000, like ever. I don't know.
It's been a little scant on that end. But looking at the depth they currently have, I'm a little more optimistic, but I think you have a lot of guys who profile as mid-rotation guys back end right now. You look down the list, you have Yordi Vargas, who he should be in Spokane soon. He's 2 years away. You have Joe Rock, who we spent a lot of time talking about. Like, he is basically big league ready. Jeff Criswell, I mean, he's big league ready, but he's dealing with some stuff. And then where I think the real kind of story starts, you have guys like Carson Palmquist, Mike Persecki, Connor Stain, who they drafted last year, like in the later rounds, not later rounds, but not day one. And those guys are all looking like very likely big leaguers. Like, I think it shows it's pretty easy to dig up pitching talent. There's a lot more pitchers out there. If you're doing a good job scouting, you're going to find these guys. And so I think you can be more efficient with your resources, take some high-end hitters, because you're not going to find good hitters in the mid-late rounds. That's a lot harder to do. One of my big talking points last night, look at the leaderboard. American drafted hitters, like Fangraphs, any stat you really want, almost all of them are, prep hitters. Those are guys you have to draft in like the first round, or second round, something like that. So I just think hitting is a real premium in the league, and pitching is something that, the Rockies have they finally are doing a good job actually finding guys off of waivers and things like that are okay. Like, in the past, they absolutely couldn't. I think they're showing like pitching is something you can band-aid when you need to. You cannot band-aid your lineup. Like the Rockies have been trying to band-aid it for 10 years, and they have found nothing that really sticks. Pitching side, a little more optimistic on the pitching side of, you have some quality veteran guys now that are going to be there for a while, and you have enough young guys coming through that, I think that there won't be really depth issues, and you just needed to take the best players on the board. And I think when you turn your head to the second round pick, Sean Sullivan, I think he's a good player. Absolutely not, the best player on the board. I think there was a little bit of a reach there, which, again, going back to the signing bonus stuff, that's going to be the real factor, is like, did they get him under slot? Because if they did, it makes sense to make that selection. I think that was like, hey, we need pitching, we're going to take a pitcher kind of pick. And I don't like that, because you're going to leave really good players on the board. And in the second round, I'm trying to pull up exactly who went kind of right after that selection.
As you bring that up, I have a question for you. So, dude, man, Sean Sullivan was definitely under slot. Like, what was he, number like 115 overall, maybe 150? overall, and we're picking him at 45. I did write that down somewhere. So, like, was that an underslot move to get some bigger guys coming up? Number
I mean,
123 overall.
probably, but like with the Rockies, you never really know. And the pick was slotted at 1.8 million, and it's hard to imagine a good college player. Sean Sullivan's a good pitcher. I think he would have gone in the top 100 for sure. I don't know how much of a haircut he's taking because these guys they're gonna get drafted. They want to push for slot if they can. He'll probably be a little bit below slot, but I don't know if it's gonna quite justify leaving some guys like Colton Ledbetter. When the Rays got to pick him, I was like, of course, the Rays get one of the best hitters in the draft at pick 55 overall. That one bothered me. Jake Geloff to the Dodgers. We had talked about that a bit last night. Great bat, and maybe I wouldn't have loved the corner infielder, but then also Walker Martin was someone I was really pushing for. Colorado kid, really good player. Maybe would have been hard to sign as a high schooler, but it just felt like we're gonna take a pitcher to take a pitcher. And I think you're setting yourself up for just to have all your eggs in one basket in that kind of sense. And it has to work out. Otherwise you're just kind of, going to have the same old offense for the next handful of years, and it's not going to turn around.
Yeah. And you're definitely not wrong in saying that. And it's going to be curious of what they do today and tomorrow. How are they going to just take the low risk guys going forward with these bats and try to just fill up the minors with just safe guys? Kind of what this the third round draft pick he has such a weird spelling. Carrigg, like, he's a safe bat. There's not a lot of power. You talked about it earlier. Like, you should be OPSing way higher than what he did in that league at altitude, but he seems to be just a good safe bet. You can find somewhere for him. You have multiple positions, good approach at the plate. It seems safe, low risk there. Do the Rockies take more of a risk on day 2, day 3 with some of these guys, particularly the bats?
I think you're going to be kind of forced into taking lower risk players because you're not going to be able to sign a prep player most likely from here on out. And most of the college guys left. There's going to be some boomer bust type of guys. We saw Brad Cumbus last year, who I don't think he's played this year. I don't know what the deal is there. He was like can't really hit right now, but he's a super tooled up guy. But I also do want to say with Cole Carrigg, who we haven't quite talked about yet, I think it's actually the opposite of a safe bat. I think there's no power and he chases. I don't think the approach really is all that good. It's a 36% chase rate, which that's like, I don't know what you do with that. That's like he's swinging at almost every pitch thrown at him, unless it's in the dirt from the starting point. They're drafting him as a catcher. He didn't play catcher at all this year at San Diego State. He's a center fielder. I think it's weird. It's a guy with speed, and you're putting him at a position where speed is not a factor. So I think that was a really weird one. He OPS just over 800 in the Mountain West, like we kind of alluded to a little bit. If you're in the Mountain West, 1,000 OPS should be pretty deep, like reasonable if you're a high-end draft prospect. So they're betting on this guy to put a ton of balls in play and maybe project for more power. I think this was a bit of a risky hitting selection, actually. And if you're gonna make your hitting selections few and far in between, I think you do need to go that safer route, which hopefully we do see here on day 2 and then on day 3 as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I was sorry. I was just reading some articles about Carrigg, and they're echoing. You say it better than what I'm reading, but they're echoing what you're saying. It's just an interesting move. I get the run tool, I get the arm tool, but what does that do for you?
That's like a best case scenario to me. Not best case, because I think best case scenario, he finds a little more power. He improves his approach a little bit because you don't have to worry about him swinging and missing a lot. Like, he is not going to strike out that much, but he's not going to walk. And if he's not finding good contact, he's not going to play as a hitter. And that's just not something you expect to hear out of a third round pick. Or no, he's a second. He's basically a second round pick.
Round, yeah.
And again, you're taking away the speed on the field. You're putting him at catcher where his speed, I mean, in other ways, the speed will play, but not the pure speed. Like, he's a good athlete. I think that's without question. But again, you're drafting a guy in the basically the back of the second round to develop him as a catcher. That's head scratching. There's not a bat right now that profiles as like, all right, we got a really interesting bat. Best case scenario to me, he's like a 280 hitter with a 300 on base percentage and very minimal slugging ability. Like, and you're teaching him a new position. That's kind of weird. You have a lot of guys on the board still at the hitters that, maybe not great blow them away type of guys out of college, but some guys who had garnered first round upside and still have, produced with their bat. And you see a guy who did not produce with his bat taken not even round 3.
So we're gonna stop dogging on Carrigg here. So I just found this. So last January, Carrigg was listed 12th among the nation's top 150 outfielders. So he has that athletic ability, can do it. However, like you said, the Rockies drafted him as a catcher. What does that mean? Who knows? Because they also drafted Hunter Goodman as a catcher. He's now an outfielder / first baseman. He before earning a spot on the Bobby Bragg National Collegiate Slugger Award preseason watch list. So he had that going before the season started. He did work in 2022 in the Cape Cod, earning an All-Star team nod with a 329 batting average. Fourth in hits that season with 47, and tied for fourth with 15 stolen bases and had 19 RBIs in that Cape Cod League. Cape Cod League, hardest collegiate summer league out there, most competitive, and he was able to compete at that high level and produce at that high level. Just put it out there. there is some good things about Cole. It's just a weird pick with a compensation B timeline, where you got to imagine a guy like Cole Carrigg is around round 3, 4, 5. So
yeah, exactly.
That, I think that's where it's at. There's a player, there's an athlete in this guy, Cole Carrigg, but where they picked where the Rockies decided to go with it and what the Rockies mindset is with it is the confusing part there. So he's gonna be one to watch go forward. Like, what does this mean? What do we go with this?
And I think you also got to really hope another, like I mentioned with Sean Sullivan, I think it was a fine pick. This is one, if it's not under slot, I think it's, bordering, and I don't want to be, again, it's not really about Cole. Like, he's a good player. I think if you don't get him under slot, you're actually looking at like draft malpractice. Like you said, I think it was a clear like 3rd or 4th round kind of guy. So if you're not saving a little bit of money here to use elsewhere, I think it's really questionable. And yeah, doesn't quite. He is a good player, and I think he'll hit a little bit. And like you mentioned, the athleticism is pretty awesome. So just hoping to see him go under slot.
And then the last little bit of it, he was best of the rest in the recap article on MLB.com. He was one of the 5 best of the rest names that were out there. So they didn't cover round 2. They didn't cover all the compensation. They just covered the round 1. And Cole Carrigg made that best of the rest from night 1 list. So it's just weird. It's just a weird move. I can't seem to wrap my head around it. Like, what do the experts see? And then what does our expert and Tyler see, and how they're kind of combating right now? It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. All right. So by the time people listen to this, day 2 is going to be done. Day 3 is going to be starting on Wednesday. So I don't know if I want you to preview a day 2 stuff, but there are a few people listening. Oh, Skyler jumped in. Give Skyler somebody. What up, Skyler? Who are some guys that we're looking in round 3, 4, 5 that you were just talking about that it's not going to be a prep bat, but who are some of these guys that we can add to the squad on day 2?
So I know that, and yeah, glad Skyler popped up because I think he had thrown the name Jack Hurley out on Twitter. I think at this point it's looking like a guy that like MLB.com, they were higher on him than MLB teams actually are. He's sitting on the board at MLB.com, had him as their 36th player. It's still a toolsy bat. Like he has pretty good power. good tools all around. He doesn't really lack in any one area, but I think there are some concerns around the hit tool. Otherwise, though, a guy on the board right now that I think would be really interesting. I kind of it would have been in the same basket as Cole Carrigg is Maui Ahuna out of Tennessee. He's a really toolsy shortstop. There's some power there. It's 70 grade speed. He's like a 60 grade shortstop. It's he's really good over there. But his chase rate is Cole Carrigg level. It is in the mid high 30s. And that's one of those things where I don't know how well that plays when you get to the pros. But between those two guys, I think that they probably had their eyes set on this athletic player that can play a premium defensive position. So I think that's where they were looking. Otherwise, a couple more college bats just to throw them out there. Travis Honeyman had some first round hype early in the season. Jace, I don't know how to say his last name. I think it's Borofen out of Arkansas. He hit pretty well this season. And then a final guy that has looked really good this year was Josh Rivera out of Florida, another shortstop, a little bit older, but he really, I think his OPS was over 1,000 this year, plays shortstop. I think he'll stick there. So there's those guys. There's still a lot of pitching on the board. I think this is kind of the sweet spot for pitching, and that's why I was like, hitting dries up real quick. Pitching, there's a lot of really good pitchers still on the board.
Yeah, I got it's. I understand your philosophy. I just don't know what else to add to it as the host here. But it's so you're expecting probably a college bat, definitely a college bat, maybe some college arms being taken today. Skyler just asked, any high school pitchers I want to look out for? I don't. Does this class really have? Yeah, they have some. That not as much as last year, but any high school arms that this draft should be looking out for?
That's definitely, the demographic I pay attention to the least. I think I mentioned it in the space yesterday. Of course, because the Rockies aren't really going to dabble in that a lot. Those aren't guys I look at too much.
We got Jackson Cox this time last year.
Yeah, but that was like the one, and then you throw Case Williams in there too. It's like a 1 in 3 year kind of thing for them that they'll take a prep arm. But Travis Sikora, I mentioned on the space last night. I think he's going to college. I'm pretty sure he's an A&M commit. I said that twice. He might not be, but he's a really high octane arm. I just think at this point, a prep guy that's on the board that was projected to go in the top two rounds is probably going to college now, unless there is a team that they kind of built their draft around saving money. I wouldn't look too much at prep pitching, but again, I'm not the best guy to really give insight on the prep pitchers. There's definitely some really good prep shortstops still available. This was the year of the prep shortstop, and I was really hoping the Rockies would capitalize on an opportunity to get one of those guys.
Which is weird. So I had this thought last night after we started talking. The Rockies seem to have a really good crop of international prospects, young guys that they've been able to develop from the get-go, right? You have Amador, Yankiel, add Juan to it, Tovar, there's other names in there. Why don't the Rockies do that with American board players? Like, why aren't they drafting a high school prep shortstop that they can go ahead and develop all the way through like they are these international guys? They have a track record where they can do it. It's not like international players are that different than American born. Like what? It's just a weird. I had that weird thought last night. Like, why aren't the Rockies there? There is success there.
It comes probably down to balance that, you look at the Dominican Summer League as like that place that they're going to try and develop those guys. And then, when it comes to the draft, they want to be more safe. Although I don't know how well playing it safe has really, worked out for them. And when you look at guys like Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story that were arguably their two best draft picks in this century, those are both, from the prep demographic. It's tried and true. Those are going to be the all-star hitters in baseball. There's going to be a mix of college ones. So it is interesting. You see a guy, Cooper Pratt, on the board still, someone I think he was a first-round pick. He probably did come with some high signing bonus demands and will almost definitely end up at Ole Miss now. Nick is very happy about that.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess the Rockies do some young guys. I guess Zach Veen, Benny Montgomery, Grant Lavigne, they are there. It just doesn't seem, and they are all first-round picks. But I guess kind of what you were saying, they don't do mid rounds.
It's first round really like top 50 or bust is really how it works out for them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm looking at some of these guys like Cooper Pratt. Like, how are you 6'4", 195 pounds as an 18-year-old?
And I mean, that's what's crazy with those guys.
All these guys are
They're
stacked, man.
probably going to grow another inch, which, like, you look at where they're listed now, and it's like they are going to even grow a little bit more. So
Yeah.
I wish I could see more prep players in the Rockies system, but we I gotta learn to live with it a little bit.
Right. All right. We'll end it with that. Maybe we'll talk off air about doing a day 2, day 3 recap. Maybe figuring out something to do. Maybe we put that all together for a Thursday pod, whatever. You're going to be covering it today. You're going to be covering it tomorrow. So make sure you're following the Twitter all the way through, no matter when you hear this, whenever you listen to this. Maybe you need a hashtag, Tyler. Let's do a hashtag. Hashtag BSB draft.
All right,
Clever, right?
Let's get it rolling. Everyone who's watching right now, hit a BSB draft when the clock is ticking.
Follow that hashtag, BSB draft. And that way it's all there. That way you can just search BSB draft so you can get all the inside behind the scene numbers that Tyler is fantastic at doing. And like, you love it. You get it. You enjoy it. So go follow BSB, hashtag BSB draft here on out for the next few days. And if you're listening to this on this weekend, whatever, go back. You can still hashtag and find all that information. Go back to last Thursday, listen to our banter session with Ben Bramer. Solid dude. He's got a cool story. Was out of baseball. Then he felt like he had it. And then he did have it, did work in the independent league, got signed by the Rockies as a free agent this past offseason, this season, not this past offseason, literally end of April, beginning of May. And he's starting to get the taste of PCL. He had a really good 4 or 5 starts with the Topes, and then now the PCL is kind of coming back to bite him. But he's a gamer. He's a dog. He's going to try to get you 5 to 6 innings each. Not a big power guy. He is kind of fun to watch. He's got a big curve, big sweep. So Ben Bramer, good story, good dude. So go listen to that on all the podcasts, on the YouTubes, all that. And yeah, I think that's all I want to plug. We have t-shirts. We have a new website, BlakeStreetBanter.com, like literally BlakeStreetBanter.com, which is pretty cool.
That's sweet.
All the pods are going to go on there. We'll try to figure out what else to do to make it cool, as however that looks like. But make sure you go favorite that, put that on your tabs list there, Blake Street Banter. You'll find all the blogs, all the pods, all there. Our Twitter's on there. I'm working behind the scenes. I'm putting all of our Blake banter sessions in one section, so you can find all the conversations we've had with these guys over the last 3 years. And yeah, let's go with that. I think our day is done. Our morning is done, but our day is just beginning. So
yeah, a lot of fun coming.
Hopefully the lake was good to you, Skyler. Hopefully the rest of the day is good. As always, go Rocks! Minor league affiliates. Woo!